Hey everyone, it's Justin. I'm back with another interview today. This time I've got Dominic Glynn, who has written the 1986 Doctor Who theme. And I believe, according to your IMDb, you also wrote the incidental music during McCoy era.
Yeah, and the Baker, some of the Baker stuff as well. So yeah.
Oh, nice. So I just want you to introduce yourself for the audience. Who are you? What is your background with music, and how did you end up getting to writing for Doctor Who?
Okay, well, as you rightly said, I'm Dominic Glynn. I'm a composer for film and TV, and yes, a lot of you may know me from Doctor Who. So my first professional job actually was writing music for Doctor Who. That was in 1986 when I wrote the incidental score to the first four episodes of The Trial of a Time Lord, and then the last two episodes of The Trial of a Time Lord. So that was my first work on Doctor Who, and then subsequently to being commissioned to do that. John Nathan Turner, who was the producer, rang up and said, would you like to rearrange the theme? And of course, I jumped at the chance to do that as well. But that wasn't what I initially thought I was going to be doing. But, it's fantastic, nice to be asked. And so, I ended up doing the theme for that season with Colin Baker. And then subsequently, I did one story a year for each of Sylvester McCoy's episodes. So I did Dragonfire, Happiness Patrol, Survival, and have I missed one out? Can't remember. That sounds right. Yeah, that's it. And so, I did the last ever episode of classic Doctor Who as well, which was
wow.
the last episode of Survival. So,
did you go to music school? Do you have a formal music background?
No, I don't have any formal training at all. So my background is as a keyboard player in a band, and so I was in a school band initially when I was a teenager. And self-taught and all that sort of stuff. We used to write our own songs. The band carried on to various different forms after I left school, and then we got a record deal, and then the record deal never happened. It fizzled out.
Right.
And members of the band kind of dispersed off to go and be blacksmiths or accountants or whatever it is. Everybody did something different. And I ended up being the last one standing that still wanted to do music as a career. So I had got a job for a few years and was working in a bog standard office job, and then kept sending off things trying to get work in music. Wrote a letter to John Nathan Turner, producer of Doctor Who, and he wrote back to my amazement and said, send me a tape, I'm interested. So I sent him a tape, and the next thing you know, within about 18 months, anyway, it wasn't instant, he offered me the job. So it was as simple as that. Quite unusual, but it actually worked in the old-fashioned way of sending in a demo, getting the thumbs up, and then getting the job.
Yeah. I was in a band in high school, and it's tough, like people leaving or just not showing up, or people who aren't as committed as you.
Yeah.
So I want to focus on this question on the arrangement that you did. I'm wondering what your writing process was like, how, for example, how did you decide which instruments to use? How did you come up with sort of the melodic lines that are specific to this arrangement? Because I think there are a few lines that are original to this theme.
I mean, as far as instruments to use, it was so limited. I mean, I was so limited. In 1986, I didn't have the resources that people have now to make music. I had three synthesizers, basically. I'm just trying to think in my head. Two of which I can show you now. So there was that Roland Juno 6, which I had. And up the top here is a Korg 770.
Oh, nice.
It was relatively rare synth, actually. There aren't a huge number of them around. So I had those two. I just had them because I was a keyboard player in the band. And I had a Yamaha DX21, and that was it. I didn't have it, so I didn't have to choose instruments. I just knew I had to use each one of those three.
And
it was a matter more of figuring out sound palette of the sort of sounds I wanted to use. So the actual theme arrangement, I got copies of the original version from the production office. He sent me tapes of every version of the theme so far, because it was the only way, you couldn't just go on the internet and play every version. In 1986, they send you a tape. So reel-to-reel tape came in the post, and I stuck it on my reel-to-reel tape machine and listened to it and absorbed them and worked out what I loved about them and what I wanted to change and all that sort of stuff. And I just sort of set about trying to give it my own stamp. And that was, so you asked about the sort of extra melodic parts.
Right.
I just knew that I wanted to make it different without making it radically different. I wanted to make it different enough to give it its own identity. Yeah. So I came up with some, counterpoint melody parts and everything on the run out of the opening and all that sort of stuff. So it just came about naturally through wanting to make it sound individual.
Very cool. So how long did you have to write it? I'm just curious.
It was not long enough.
Yeah. It's always not long enough.
Yeah. So I forget the exact time scale, but as I said, kind of an afterthought to do the title music. I was given the job to write incidental music.
Yeah.
And I think I really can't remember the timeline here, but I think I hadn't even started on the incidental music before he then, you want to go at the title music as well. So I think it was the very first thing I did. So, and it became, the producer rang and said, would I do this? But we need it very quickly, because they had to, for some reason, they had to have it ready to play into the first episode when they were doing the post-production on the episode. So I think I was given something like 10 days.
Wow.
But the trouble is I also didn't have much equipment. So I stupidly sort of applied to do this job, writing music for the BBC in a long-running TV show, not really expecting them to actually say, yes, you can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
When he did say, yes, you can do it, I hadn't got recording equipment, hadn't got a studio. I had 3 keyboards, which I just mentioned. I also had a 4-track cassette multi-track studio, which is it's called a Porter studio. And it was literally like a small square box with a cassette in it and some, play button and you could record 4 tracks, one on top of the other. And they sounded terrible because cassette tape is really, really narrow.
Right.
And there's no space to get high bandwidth of sound quality on it. So they sounded awful. And I realized there was no way, although I'd done the demos using that system, there was no way I could do a professional TV job using a 4-track cassette studio.
Yeah.
So I had to rush out to a music shop, spend every penny that I could gather from basically leaving my job. And I got some money in from the pension that I'd started paying in at the age of 24. I was only 24. And I got the money in that I would have been paying in every week. They gave you a lump sum when you left the job if you wanted to take it.
Yeah.
I bought an 8-track recording system and an 8-track mixing desk.
Yeah.
Which gave me the opportunity to make a slightly higher quality sound. And so this also had to be done within the 10-day period of being commissioned to do it and then having to present the finished mix. So it was very rushed, and I wished I'd had longer to do it. But it was a quick job, and you don't turn it down when you get offered something like that.
So I'm sure you were influenced by every single previous Doctor Who theme when you wrote yours, but is there any particular one that you were particularly drew inspiration from?
To be honest with you, I mean, I always think of it, and purists will tell me off, but I think there were only two versions before me, basically. They were variations of them, but they were mixed variations. The actual 2 versions were Delia Derbyshire with Dick Mills and Peter Howell. So I took some inspiration from both, probably more from Delia and Dick's version, because firstly, I didn't have the equipment to make a really high quality, very modern, contemporary electronic masterpiece, which I would have liked to have done. So I thought I would return to sort of basics of it, which is what I had to end up doing. And I kind of, in a way, it gave me the opportunity to experiment a bit more because I couldn't use any synthesizer available, which is what the advantage of the Radiophonic Workshop, which is where Peter Howell worked out of. They had a big supply of every kind of instrument you need electronically. So I had to make do with what I had. So I took most of the inspiration, I think, from the original version. And also I wanted to sort of bring back a little bit of the weirdness of, I always thought the great thing about the original Doctor Who theme was the weirdest piece of music that you've ever heard. It's melodic, which is not surprising because it was written by Ron Grainer, who wrote great TV themes, fantastic musical themes, but it's arranged by Dick Mills and Delia Derbyshire, who are mavericks, making electronic music. So it ended up being something that nobody'd ever heard anything like it before, ever. People experimented with electronic music, of course, but electronic music tended to be quite esoteric and very out there. The thing about the Doctor Who theme is, sound-wise, it was very out there, but it had this great melody and everything, and fantastic bass line and all that. So I wanted to bring back some of the elements of the original that I loved, that with this mysterious nature of it, but still be a very, what's the word, accessible piece of music.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Do you have a favorite one, just spanning across, like including, all the ones so far, including all the new ones?
All the arrangements.
Yeah, all the arrangements. Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the very original because of the way it was made. There were no keyboards. There's not a keyboard on that original version. It's all done with oscillators. And
so interesting.
It's just, and so as a result, it hasn't dated in any shape or form because there's nothing identifiably 1963 about that arrangement. So it genuinely sounds like it could have come from, any time era, future or past. It's totally otherworldly and out of this world, and I just think it's fantastic, which is why it's stood up in time as being a great piece of music.
Yeah, for sure. During your time writing the incidental music, is there like a certain track that you're most proud of that you did?
There are a couple that I suppose stand out for me personally, just because they've given me sort of pleasure to have been involved with. So, I mean, I love the fact that I got the opening shot of Doctor Who when it returned. It hadn't been on for a couple of years. And it was the most expensive model shot that Doctor Who had ever had in time, which was the very opening scene from The Child of a Time Lord. And also, it was a fantastic opportunity to show off a bit, because very often incidental music is drowned out by annoying dialogue. It's in the way of the music, No, but seriously, it was an opportunity to have music without any dialogue. So it was a big showy opening to an episode. So the music from the beginning of episode 1 of Child of a Time Lord sort of stands out for me as a favourite. And then later on, I did the Happiness Patrol, and I loved working with electronic music with blues harmonica. The idea of combining those two types of music was a great opportunity for me. And there's the scene where Helen A's pet creature, Fifi, keels over and dies. And, she's been very, very, throughout the story, has been very, dismissive of emotion and all this sort of stuff. Of course, when her pet dies, she just is in floods of tears and everything. And so
Tis done.
the idea of being able to create music that was very, very tear-jerky, but was still electronic and still featured this blues harmonica, which had been a key element of the story. That was a big thing for me as well. So I suppose those are the two bits that I look back on that I'm most happy with.
I'm wondering, did you ever meet either Delia Derbyshire or what's the other, Ron Grainer?
I didn't meet either of them, sadly. No, I didn't. I'm very great friends with Dick Mills, who obviously did the original with Delia. And I still see Dick to this day, but never had the chance, unfortunately, to meet Delia or Ron Grainer.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts as someone who's written Doctor Who music on the whole, like Delia Derbyshire, like crediting controversy?
Oh, well, it is a shame that she didn't get credited. Absolutely. I mean, that's the way the BBC did things in those days. It's not right. Having said that, Ron Grainer actually wrote it. But I think it would have been nice retrospectively if Delia had been credited as arranger. Written by Ron Grainer, arranged by Delia Derbyshire. It would have made sense morally as well, I think. But it's just the way that the BBC worked at the time. She was an employee.
So I've got a couple questions from that other people submitted. So Leah asks, how do you stay true to the original Doctor Who theme while being respectful of it, but also add your own personal touch?
How did I do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it helped that I loved the original, so therefore I didn't feel as though I could disrespect it.
Yeah.
I had to, because it's my first job as well, my first professional job. I had to get it right. So in my mind, I had to get it right. So it was just a matter of taking the elements that I loved from the original and just, as I said before, trying to put my own stamp on it. I was quite clear I didn't want to change it too much. And I have said before in interviews, the producer, John Nathan Turner, had asked me when I originally talked to him about this, would I do it? In effect, I think he used these precise words, could you do it a disco version? And I, at that time, 1986, I just thought, I can't think of anything worse than a disco version of the Doctor Who theme. Because my idea for Doctor Who, I always loved the mystery of it. And so I liked the fact that it had comic elements as well, but it was quite dark and weird and a bit odd. And I didn't want to sort of turn it into something cheesy. I was desperate to make it not cheesy. So I sort of hummed and hawed, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And then when I tried it, I said to John, I tried the disco thing. It didn't work. You know, he didn't. To be fair, he didn't put up a fight about it. So I kind of went my own way on it, which is not the route that I normally take when I'm commissioned job. I try and follow the brief, but on this particular occasion, I loved Doctor Who and the Doctor Who theme so much. I thought I'm not going to do that to it.
It's funny.
Years later, I did kind of do a dance version of it, but it was a very different style from what would have happened in the 1950s.
It's funny because to my ear, I always think of that theme as the disco Doctor Who theme. I guess mainly just because of the synthesizers, I guess.
Probably, yeah.
Like the layering and stuff. Yeah. So Christopher and Lewis of the Doctor Who Adventures channel ask, were you aiming for a different direction when you made music for the show, or did you want to draw from previous composers as much as possible, or mixture of both? I think you touched on that already.
I mean, I was going for a different direction. I think I was trying to steer it away from what I describe as television music. So I wanted it to sound more cinematic.
Yeah.
And so that was part of my drive to try and make it sound different, particularly as I progressed through the stories that I worked on. And also the other thing was, as I did touch on earlier, I did want to make it a little bit darker. Because I like that mystery about Doctor Who, you know, the weirdness of it. Yeah, that was probably the direction I was aiming at.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite tracks or arrangements, ones that you like from New Doctor Who, either from Murray Gold or I'm forgetting the name of the new one.
Baker and McCoy.
Yeah.
Should I have anything? To be honest, I haven't really sort of given it the attention I should give individual music cues or whatever. I mean, I like the direction Sagan has taken it in recently. Yeah. He's sort of definitely, what I love about Doctor Who is the ability to mix stuff up. Music that mixes things up. So he's been able to mix the electronics with the orchestra. And I love that kind of orchestral electronic crossover thing, which I think is very well suited to Doctor Who. Yeah. And there's been a bit more electronics in it of late. I'm quite happy with that because I like the otherworldly sound of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for? I know I'm a musician. I'm no longer a professional musician, but I think a lot of viewers and kind of my friends are. Do you have any advice for aspiring musicians or composers?
It's quite wide. I suppose it depends on what area you want to do. If you're interested in a composer for TV or film, I always think best advice for that is to hook up with a director. And initially, you're going to have to do things as a favor for people. And that means really working with a young director who's never done a film before, who's doing a short film or something. Hook up by whatever method you can, either through socially, you meet directors and you want to sort of offer your services as a composer. Or find a film school or somewhere where they're training people to direct films and all that sort of stuff, and just send them your work, show them what you can do demos, and sort of produce some material. Because I think a lot of people rely on going to study it, which is fine. They'll go and do music technology or something, or they're going to do a course. But ultimately that won't get you any work. it might help you to understand how to do certain things.
Right.
But I think the key to it, the best way of understanding how to do these things is just to do them.
Mm.
Always my key thing, just do the thing that you want to do. Okay, you won't get paid to start with, but write some music for a short film, or try writing some music cues to a film that already exists and write your own version of music for a scene. And then get a body of work together, and crucial thing is to keep writing and keep recording. That's probably the key to it, if that's any help.
Yeah, it totally is. Is there anything else you want to discuss? That's all the questions I prepared. Do you want to discuss anything else or add to anything that I didn't ask you about?
Well, I mean, I suppose, I've been lucky to keep going with it. So I was obviously working in Doctor Who in the 80s. I can't believe it long ago. But fortunately, I've managed to keep a career going doing music for TV and film.
Yeah.
So there are lots of other areas, and it's worth considering, again, for people who want to get into doing the sort of thing I do. I mean, most of my work, most of it has been in something called production library music.
Yeah.
Which is music written for TV and film, but not specifically written for any one particular TV show or film.
Yeah.
It's pre-written music. So it's available for directors and editors and producers who need a piece of music to put into a film or a project. And there's a big industry in production music.
Yeah.
So that's something for people to investigate. And fortunately, that's been my career, for the last 30 years. And I still do films, and I still do, odd TV things as well. But that's the bulk of it. And the result is that I end up with music in lots of places you wouldn't expect it to be in. It's a worthwhile thing, people investigating if they're wanting to be a composer. It's not always about writing music for the current latest blockbuster movie to come. Mm-hmm. So many other outlets for music. And the other thing that is maybe worth mentioning, I think we touched upon it when we first started writing, is I've had another career at the same time doing dance music. Techno and all sorts of stuff. So I've got a few things coming out, about to come out on vinyl, which are remixes of work I did in the 90s, some of the techno dance stuff. So again, people might want to check that out if they get the opportunity. And I used to record under the name Syzygy, which is hard enough to pronounce and even harder to spell, but it's SYZYGY. Yeah, make a note, everybody. SYZYGY. Okay. And that was the main name, but I used quite a few other names. And I had a record label, No Bones Records, and a lot of stuff went out on No Bones, and a lot of this stuff is being revived, so coming out in the next 6 months or so. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, we'll watch out for that. All right, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much to everyone who submitted questions, and thanks so much to Liam, my new channel partner, who helped me come up with the list of questions, even though he wasn't able to be there for the interview. I did recently move, which is why I haven't been uploading videos as much lately, but my next video will be The Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 4 review, so look out for that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you guys next time. Stay shui.